Hey everyone, my name is Akash, and today I'm joined by Heidi Diamond. Heidi is a veteran in the media space. She has gone through the journey of being an investor to being an advisor and also held leadership roles across the spectrum at AMC Network, the Food Network, and Martha Stewart. Now she is a venture partner at 125 Ventures. She's the founder of Diamond Enterprises. She's also an active supporter of a female-led startup consortium called Angel Hive. And not to forget, she is an advisor to AdScate. She has firsthand seen how lean companies and operations function. And today, we have had the opportunity to talk to her about how to run a lean company and the different impacts of it, and how to also, in the age of AI, ensure that bloat doesn't exist, and what is it for the next generation of companies that they should be keeping in mind. Thank you, Heidi.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm going to add to your list, I've also been a founder and an entrepreneur. So believe me, I know what scaling with a really lean team feels like.
In fact, keeping that in mind, and this kind of dovetails into your startup life itself, what does it mean to be lean in practice in your startup days, and in your definition too, how has it evolved from, let's say, advising large organizations to startups today?
I think being lean means you have to be incredibly intentional. You have to learn fast. You have to spend smartly, and you need to be relentless with whatever problem you're solving, whatever, whoever your customer is. Just be relentless towards traction for what it is that you're setting out to achieve.
And in your days with AMC, with Martha Stewart, in larger organizations, how did you ensure that the same principle was followed with the larger organizations too?
I think the Martha Stewart living on the media example is a really good one. They don't teach you that kind of stuff in business school when the eponymous owner is going to the big house, um, and how you take a big team, a really big team that was producing uh, a syndicated television show plus some other shows. We had to reduce down to a very small core team while she was in jail. Um, I've never been more productive in my career. I remember saying to the board, I went from being a girl who wasn't invited to the dance to being homecoming queen because we rose her like a phoenix. And I went from, I think, in 5 months' time, I went from negative 10 million EBITDA to 50 million top line in 5 months while she was incarcerated. So, and with, I think we had let go almost 200 people, and we did that with maybe 10 people tops. So, try, definitely, you want to be in the foxhole with me.
In fact, you bring up a great point, and this is something that I constantly think about when I see, um, not only or hearing from your journey, but also seeing other companies, which is, why do you think that lean companies outperform the larger, well-funded companies? I feel like there's a heavy emphasis in today's day and age to talk about how well-funded they are, but I feel like the missing essence is people are not talking about the performance like you did. So what are the hidden advantages that comes with the constraint of running a lean organization?
Clarity. Clarity is, to me, is the big advantage. You are so focused on the one main thing that you have to do on a consistent basis that you have blinders on to everything else. It's easy to get distracted in a large organization. There's lots of things that are going on. There's meetings, there's bureaucracy, there's all that nonsense. In a lean organization, you're just really focused. The team is aligned. Everybody is contributing to whatever that mission is.
Is there a company in today's day and age that you look at which has gone through the journey of being lean and that you basically would advocate for, especially in terms of other startups to look at, like the ones like us?
Two fashion companies come to mind. One is Stitch Fix, if you're familiar with Stitch Fix. I think they started off, I think they were just a couple. They were into sustainability and things along those lines. I think they started in their apartment in San Francisco, and now it's a very large organization. And along those same lines, there's a consignment entity called Linda's Stuff, where I can send them off clothes that aren't meaningful to me anymore. And they send me UPS labels. It gets out of my apartment. It goes to their warehouse. She started off in her basement. She now has like a couple of 100,000 square foot warehouse somewhere in Pennsylvania. She's the largest consigner on eBay. She was a lawyer. She stepped away from her career. She raised her family, and she started doing this in her basement. So that's another good example of something that was really lean. But the thing about Linda's Stuff is the same the same way I was able to talk to her years ago when it was just her. I still have that same access if I needed to talk with her. She's trained her people to be as hospitable as she always was. So that company comes to mind. And
That's
it's
fascinating.
reminding me to clean my closet and send stuff out to her.
Same thing. I was going to ask you whether they would take even men's clothing.
They do take men's clothing. I'll give
Got
you
it.
the scoop.
I definitely am going to be doing it after this. The other thing that comes up again to my mind is scale, and that's a factor that you brought up with the two examples that you provided. So when you advise a startup, even like us, how do you help them recognize when is the right moment to scale without losing the agility to make them successful?
I think repeatability, when the same customers are coming back and they're willing to pay more money and they're coming back again and again, and you're seeing organic growth without any expenditure, when you're seeing um, that you haven't had to spend a ridiculous amount of money to be able to get some traction, that's a pretty good indicator that the market is responding to what it is. The dogs are eating the dog food.
And is there any red flags that you would highlight, especially with the founder, that they are not looking at or they're not having the foresight?
I think balance is something that everybody should always have and shouldn't have blinders on. I think because the grind is so grinding, you need to make sure you're also taking care of yourself and you can step away. I think that a good leader will show the team also that they're willing to have a weekend where they just chill, they watch a football game, they take a trip, they take a bike ride, something. I think balance is important to focus on. There
I
was
think
there was that TV show years ago that on HBO, Silicon Valley, and the character, the founder, was like in the fetal position in his bathtub. You don't want people to be seeing that. I mean, there's really high highs and there's really low lows in being an entrepreneur. We've all experienced that. Um, you have to be able to, show the calm also.
In fact, one thing that you mentioned over here, with calm comes decision making and also responsibility sharing. When a company is lean, like be it us, or even when you're running your company too, when you're lean, you inevitably try to make decisions fast with limited amount of information or data. How does a founder build the confidence and clarity in those high stakes moments?
I think you have to think about reversible decisions and irreversible decisions. If it's reversible, experiment, get some data, get some insights, figure that out, and move fast. You can fix it. If it's an irreversible decision, you need to gather more data and you need to take a little bit more precision in what it is that you're testing for or seeking some kind of input to. And then you take a leap.
A leap of faith.
Well, just you're gonna have to. You got to move. And the thing about what I find really enchanting about a really strong leader of a lean company or it's a young startup is just that fortitude and that grit and that confidence that comes from, you know, accepting the really high highs, accepting the really low lows, but always being communicative to the team, however small that is, always showing that some vulnerability. Hey, I think this is going to work. I'm not entirely sure. We're all still driving for the same thing. Let's go for it. And then a good leader has the ability and the agility to be able to pivot if it doesn't work out.
In fact, talking about that very point, if you had to pivot this slightly, now since you're also an investor, I would love to know the flip side of this. So, from an investor standpoint of view, how do you evaluate whether a startup is operating efficiently versus being under resourced?
I think you have to be, as an investor, I like to see how the founder's focusing on their time, on their allocation of capital, on their decision making, on their who they're bringing in to help them. So that's pretty much what I would think about. I don't want founders to overstep their means. I also like to work with founders who tell me the good, the bad, and the ugly. I can't help if I don't know what's going on. So, we work together pretty closely. We're pretty hands-on, back and forth on a regular basis. I'm pretty apprised of everything that's happening. I'm not in the weeds, but you're a very good communicator and you always keep me apprised when there's problems or when there's victories.
Thank you. Thank you for that. The other thing that I would love to bring up, and this is something that like you and I constantly talk about, which is the future of AI, not only in the realm of where AdScate sits, which is the advertising ecosystem, it's also beyond that. Uh, with AI automations across the different tasks that someone could conduct, how do you see the concept of lean evolving in the next 5 years? And with most successful companies be lean by design?
Well, you and Max on the team have taught me about efficiencies for AI, and you've led by example. You've automated so many daily nonsense, not that they're nonsense, but manual. Uh, you guys have automated that. You've taught me a lot about that. Just look at what's happened this week with the layoffs everywhere. I mean, I forget what the quantity is. Paramount laid off thousands of people or is continuing. Amazon, I mean, it's just coming up to fourth quarter, and Amazon has that confidence in their AI to be able to be more efficient. Would they lay off like 40,000 people or something?
Yeah, they laid off a huge chunk. As of yesterday, I think Amazon, or as of day before the article that I read online, it said that Amazon had laid off 14,000 people, and YouTube, which is Google, had laid off another 18,000 people.
I think UPS also just recently had a layoff. I just don't know how everybody's Christmas packages are going to get there on time.
Or maybe no packages at all. The one other thing I actually want to ask you, and this is possibly the final takeaway for everyone, including people that are listening to it, also people who are other founders too of their own companies. If you had to give one piece of advice to a founder trying to build something lasting without chasing size, what would it be in this day and age?
I would say don't chase scale. Stick to your vision, stick to your guns, chase clarity, focus. Always just stay focused. Trying to do too many things all at once is no good for anybody. Um, so don't chase scale, chase clarity. Scale will come.
And we'll definitely keep that in mind too with our company and our journey. Heidi, thank you so much. This has been a great conversation, and the insights that you've shared not only to us, but also the broader audience too. Um, we definitely are grateful for the time that you've spent chatting with us today.
My pleasure. Great as always to hang together.
Thank you.
Ciao.